You know what? I want to look at this video talking about the iPad kids generation, because that's basically what we're in now.
They sitting there.
Used to think iPad kids weren't actually a concern until last night. I was at this Italian restaurant with two of my friends when this family of 6 walks into the door with the most rambunctious kids. They're just screaming and crying the whole time. When I tell you they were loud, the waiter actually told the parents that a table from across the restaurant complained about the noise. After the parents hear about the complaints, the mom pulls out this bionic looking backpack and she opens it up and takes out 3 iPads for the 3 kids.
Wait,
One of the
pause
little
that.
rats.
Can you believe she pulled out 3 of them for each kid? Right? It was for each kid? That's what he said? That's crazy.
I mean, I don't know if we want to just keep it going.
Yeah,
but
we do.
I
just had to point that out. Go ahead.
I got some comments
Kids
about that.
starts playing the Skibbity Toilet YouTube video on full volume. And you'd think the parents would reprimand the kid for that. But no, the parents tell the nanny to give the kid headphones so he can listen to it on his own.
Oh my God. It's iPad kids and gentle parenting combined. Somebody said, why is the term iPad kids instead of iPad parents? You know, that is a really, really good point. It's not their fault. It's the way they're being raised. Like, Gen Alpha genuinely is absolutely effed.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And that's a common occurrence I see all the time. Restaurants, car rides. It's like we don't allow kids to be bored.
Yeah. Oh.
I remember like sitting in a car like while it's raining on long trips, and like I would have a DVD player sometimes, but if the movie was over, I just had me. And so it'll be raining or something. I would literally like look at the raindrops on the window and say, okay, well, which one's gonna get down?
You know what? I used to do that too.
Really?
Yeah.
Or
I was
I'll
like, which one is going to drip
exactly.
down?
I'd be like, oh, I was wrong, not that one. And so or I would pretend I was in a music video.
How many of our, followers and our listeners used to do that? Just looking at the raindrops, drip dropping, and you're like, okay, this one started right here. Is it going to go faster than the other one and stop? And so, that right there, what you said, just allowing like a kid to get bored, that's important, is because I think that you tend to force and push past your boredom to be creative.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Because that creativity, like to me, I think people now are creative, but I really don't think, I feel like a lot of people just biting off everybody else, which
there
is
are a lot
nothing.
Of shortcuts.
Yeah. And
especially with AI. A lot of shortcuts.
Yes. It doesn't require you to actually get frustrated
and think through a problem.
Yes.
Yeah. Critical thinking is a lost art. Like over the years, a sort of pattern has emerged where we're in a state of overstimulation consistently and sensory overload, right? Mm-hmm. And that was happening to me for a little bit too. Between like high school and college, I noticed that couldn't take my eyes off a screen without maybe getting a headache for a little bit.
Really?
And so, going from long form to short form content, it's kind of like, what are the consequences of that? I mean, how does TikTok even work, right? They have an algorithm that allows you to see everything that you want to see and more each time. So it's like each time you're scrolling, you're seeing more and more of the same things that you already preferred last time you were on TikTok, and it's a really good algorithm because it'll keep you on there for some hours.
Yeah, because you end up finding something new and invigorating each time, like, oh, you know what? I do want to start cooking, and then, it goes from cooking, and then it goes from that to maybe you liking sports or something new is popping up each and every minute. And I think that's really, really uncommon just to the human psyche. I would say, I feel like, I know just by talking to older people, I love to just have a conversation with, people over 50, over 60, is because they tell me about times that was simpler, is because they had more value. They had time to sit down and embrace the sunset. They had time to have dinner with a person at the table and ask, hey, how was your day? How are you feeling? You know, how's the food? Oh yeah, I went and picked up fresh, produce from McDay's Market, aka Jackson, Mississippi. But
Shout out
I
to the
know,
hometown.
I know. But yeah, it stuff like that. I think that people overlook it is because we have been programmed and we don't know that, and also like people don't know that we actually created all of these things that we're actually dealing with. Desire is a very a powerful thing if you didn't know. Like government agencies and also laws are created based off the people's desire. Like, hey, I don't want someone to steal my idea. I made somebody that used to work for me, so I'm going to send a non-compete clause or a cease and a desist. So you can't, do that. Like our words and our desires are manifested in today, and there are a lot of things that we see, whether it's this movement and wokeness, or I always say what's another movement that you see?
Oh, plenty. I mean, the gender movement,
Yes, yeah,
sexual revolution, feminism. There's plenty.
yeah. I like to call it pseudo deception, even though it's basically almost like the same thing. But
I know you like your words.
yes, yes, yes. It's a false thing appearing real. Like, hey, I can be something.
Made up.
Yes, that I'm not. But if, let's say, for instance, I would say in the 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that wasn't a thing. It's because we didn't have time to I would say make ourselves feel like we are oppressed. I didn't know what oppression was.
Yeah.
Because we had real life things to think about, like, hey, I'm about to go downstairs, or go down the street to my partner's Frankie house, in which this is a real story, and ride my bike down there. The only thing I was worried about was the dog was gonna chase me when I'm riding my bike down. I didn't have time to, like, oh, the world is against me, and we're creating all of these issues, and thus this is, you have everybody that is, I mean, you got little kids at a high rate that has anxiety. I didn't know what anxiety was. Once you actually put a word to something, it brings it alive. Like, this world that we live in was started by a word. God's word. So, I'm telling you, that word desire is so deep, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. And what you were saying about how people are sort of focused on the wrong things, right? Because back then people didn't really have time to focus on all these things that are going through in their heads, but we have so much access to so much information now, to the point where we need something to focus on. And so we focus on everything, because when you're constantly going through videos that talk about maybe a mental illness or the experience of someone else, and they're all in 10-second increments, it can really trick you into thinking you're doing something productive because of the amount of information you're gathering, when you're really just sitting there being a consumer, right?
Yeah.
You're not producing anything, you're not helping anything, you're not figuring anything out, you're sitting there over analyzing yourself and the world that you live in, and you're creating problems out of it. That's how all these issues have come about in the modern age, how many of them came about, at least. And so it's like we can no longer just associate with each other, because we no longer have the people skills. Like, you have influencers who don't even like people.
Woo.
That makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
How are you an influencer and you don't even like being around people? Because being an influencer, you are naturally inclined to being around people, because you influence people by nature of the job that you do. And so how is it that you can claim that you don't even like people when these are the people you want to influence?
You know what? You just made me think about something. Do you think that by, I would say, just this social media or just media in general, of I like to put it in a form of, if like a job. So a lot of influencers, they don't have, or like, you know how with a job, you got to have these certain attributes or this resume or this experience in order to even get interviewed for a job. Now everybody can be anything that they want to be without even having to put any work behind it, but just, you know, sound like they know what they're talking about. No experience, no walking through the fire, none of that.
That's another problem with modern media too,
Yes.
especially short form content like TikTok, because with TikTok you see the successes of everybody in, again, shorter 10-second increments where
Successes
it's like,
in numbers.
yeah,
People
where
look at the numbers.
yeah, like I got here to here, I'm so successful now, I got this new apartment, I'm making this money, I went from $0 to $100,000 in a year, I went from this to this, it's easy to do this, all you gotta do is get an LLC, do this, get your taxes done, and now you're just making it $5,000 a month. Like, people see that and they're frustrated because they're like, man, it was so easy and quick for them. Why isn't it like that for me? You don't, and they don't want to put the work in because they haven't seen that process. We only show the end result, right? And so naturally, that's just how things are when it comes to that. And so, yeah, I think oftentimes because we can no longer watch something longer than a minute without some sort of distraction, like, I think that's why kids really love things like TikTok and even video games, because all of the colors and visuals and constant differing angles and things like that. And so that's why it's coming to the point where a lot of people aren't understanding why they have anxiety or why they feel depression all the time, because this is the world we live in and we're no longer seeing the people behind the screen, right? We're just seeing the screen.
Yeah.
And so how does short form content influence the way we see people, right? They're becoming caricatures and entertainers, and we're getting anxious around people because we just simply lack social skills.
Could you break down that word for me, caricatures? You know, and also for our, you know, viewers, because I mean, I just don't use that word every day.
Yeah, it's like an exaggerated
like
form of an image or a person, right?
Oh.
Like, you ever had those funny pictures
Like
drawn of you at the fair or
like
something?
in New York and stuff, when they had the people on the side and they draw the
Yes,
expression,
that's exactly
the big nose.
That's
big,
exactly what
okay,
I'm talking about.
Okay.
Exaggerated features where you're basically defined by those simple characteristics. They're now your entire definition, right? So it's easy, right, for behind the screen you to have this confidence, and you go online and you see these influencers. It's kind of easy for you to not treat them like people.
Yeah.
Because you can just simply comment on their stuff and say whatever you want and not realize there's a person behind that screen that's going to read these comments or feel something for your comments, right? And so now we're at a point where we don't even see people as people.
We see them as product.
Yeah, we see
Product
exactly.
to consume and then discard when needed. Or if there is a, I would say, almost like a lynch mob that's against you, like, hey, they're wrong because of, you know, this. Yeah, you know, I'm not gonna lie, stuff like this bothers me, is because the way that they want people to be is perfect. Like, hey, you can't hurt this person's feelings, you can't hurt this person's feelings. No, sometimes we need our feelings hurt. I mean, break my heart sometimes, because I want to be a better version of, you know, me. I don't want no fake stuff.
Yeah. That's love, right? I mean, love isn't acceptance. Love is telling you the truth. Love is bringing you back down to reality and letting you know what it is and what it is not.
Yes.
It's not accepting whatever you have going on because we don't want to hurt your feelings.
Yes.
That's not love. That's actually us hating you
Yes.
deeply. Because if I see you on the street and you got a booger on your nose and I just let you walk around with
Yeah.
that booger on your nose, I probably don't care about you,
Yeah.
to be honest.
I mean, yeah.
But if I care about the way you look, I care about the way people perceive you, and I overall just care about you, like, of course I'm gonna tell you, like, hey, I'm gonna just slide you this like tissue paper right quick,
Yeah.
and you got it something on
He's
your
like, hey,
nose.
cuz I'm gonna give you some gum. Like whenever me and my partners used to go out in college, be like, hey man, let me go ahead and give you some gum. I don't even gotta tell you that your breath raw.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. You don't have to say it like
I'm
that.
like, hey bro,
Just
get
take the
this
gum.
gum.
What if they don't take it though? And be like, nah, bro, I think I'm good.
I'd be like, nah, bro, you need it.
No, take it.
Take it.
Just take the gum.
Yes.
Some people can't read a room, so that's why I asked. Like, that's funny. But I want to go to this study that was published earlier last year by the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, because they actually found many links between social anxiety and social media use in college students. And one of those things, actually, a lot of these things may not be that surprising. They just may not be. But I thought it was interesting because it really reflects where we are as a society and where we're going. And it's really concerning that we recognize these things as issues globally, but we're not really doing anything about it.
No.
We don't really care that much. As long as the product is out, as long as the money keeps flowing in the economy, we don't care.
We can't do nothing about it. Is because by the time that we're even focused on this, something else comes out, and then I think it just compound interest, and then at the end you got a whole society or like a whole era of young men and women that are directionless.
Absolutely. And that really goes to the lack of face-to-face contact too, right?
Yeah.
Because in the article, it says that while social media users may gain a lot of social contact as a result of their internet use, it decreases face-to-face contact, which may impair their social skills in the real world. We see that so much, right? How many people do you know say they have social anxiety?
Yeah.
Really, you just lack people skills. You just don't know how to talk to people because you're not around people like that. You're around your phone. You're around your screen.
I'm gonna tell you this, something else that I just thought about.
And all you think about is yourself.
Exactly.
That's
because
it.
one thing about
and how you relate to other people instead of how other people can relate to you.
Exactly. One thing I always like to give these little examples of like these little things that pop up in my head. And so one thing about just media period and using our phone and social media, you can go and do retakes. In life, you can't go and do retakes because once it's done, it's done.
And that's what brings the social anxiety with people because they know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I think when I was in school, I remember in elementary, and a lot of you all may actually vibe with this. Like I just love I would say I definitely love my childhood. I remember it was like maybe 20 or 30 of us. We used to have to go outside and we'd have this little colorful wheel looking sheet, and everybody would get like a little end of it, and we'll all be outside. And we'll, basically, it was just an activity for kids to be outside, and then we had to do something together in order to accomplish a goal. So, like, hey, can we make this, thing look like a rainbow, a moving rainbow? And so, like, just imagine 30 little kids. Yeah, exactly. And so it was something that I know that a lot of people who I would say maybe 25 or 30 or older, they don't have too many problems with just that communication part, is because
they grew up around people.
Yeah.
This is why I tell people, if you have a child, please give that child a sibling.
Yeah.
Because
It's important.
Because oftentimes in kids that are only children, they only deal with themselves. They only think about themselves. Not to say that it's their fault, but because of the lack of social experience and being around different people and kids their age, they don't really know how to act. I mean, think about how often we hear about, studies of kids who need to be put in daycare early because we need to give them social experience outside of the parents, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah, that's a big thing. Another thing I found in the article was individuals must constantly practice communication skills and modify their behavior in response to feedback from others, and focusing on internet use may limit people's opportunities to practice communication skills and correct communication capacity deficits. People simply lack communication skills. That's why people want to get rid of things like cover letters and interviews, because we just don't know how to do it in this generation without feeling like our heart's about to pump out of our chests. We want the world to be easier for us instead of just taking on the world as it is. And that's just not reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.